next I want to talk about these two games that are very much more popular than the games I previously mentioned, and they are much more adept at indoctrinating people into fascist beliefs. And it's not through the storyline, it's through the game mechanics itself, such as World of Warcraft. Now, I don't think I need to tell anybody how terrible Blizzard is as a company, but the fact that when you think about World of Warcraft, what comes to mind? On the surface, it's just a Dungeons & Dragons clone. It's elves and orcs and goblins and bullshit. But when you think about it, it's really just a complicated version of cowboys and Indians. You have the more advanced races on the left with the humans and the whatever, Draenei, I guess they're called, and the more savage races on the right as the Horde, like orcs and minotaurs and things, that rely more on shamanism and spirit animals and things like that. It's cowboys and fucking Indians. I don't care what anybody says. So, but that's not even the underlying fascism. The underlying fascism is the fact that in World of Warcraft, it is primarily based on guilds. Who you know and why you know them is how far you get in World of Warcraft. It's all about getting involved in a guild, in a gang, and having loyalties to that gang. Putting your gang name in your name, giving your dues to your gang and shit like that. It's gang warfare. What does that teach anybody, especially kids who are the primary targets of video games of any sort? So that's the fascist undertone. It's teaching them nationalism. It's teaching them this idea that they pledge their loyalty to their gang name of choice and that all other ones are somehow inferior. And if they don't do it directly through the guilds, they do it indirectly through the Horde versus Alliance syndrome. Now, mind you, it's a video game. The point is to have an opposition party. The point is to have an opponent. I understand that. And I'm not saying that games shouldn't have that. I would think that would not be a very interesting game if it didn't. But the way it's set up seems purposely designed to advocate that fascist, ultra-nationalist undertone. And the second one, of course, is Team Fortress 2. We all know how much I fucking talk about Team Fortress 2. There doesn't seem to be a video that goes by where I don't at least mention one bad thing about Team Fortress 2. But Team Fortress 2 gets especially mentioned because not only does it have the fascist undertones of a mercenary dystopia where basically all military is ignored and it comes down to two mercenary groups which obviously have a monopoly on their fields, battling each other for the lulz of the woman, whatever her name is, the administrator, the commentator, the narrator, whatever you want to call her. And there's a weak subplot in it, and Valve sometimes updates it in their comics and shit, but ultimately, it's just that. It's just warfare for the sake of warfare. And that's a very neoconservative stance. As well, when you think about how the entire metagame system works of the trade system and hats and things like that, it's very materialistic. And it sets an unrealistic standard between one set of gamers and another. People are not judging each other based on their skill or, God forbid, their personalities, how they interact with each other in the game itself, on mic, whether or not you're actually contributing or just being a mic spammer douche. No. What judges a person's opinion of you is the hats. Whether or not you have a good hat or just a basic achievement hat. Or any hat at all. I get more flack for not wearing hats than I ever do for just my gameplay. Because, quite frankly, I'm a good gamer. I'm not going to stand here and toot my own horn about my skills as a gamer because it's irrelevant here. But the fact is, even if I was playing bad, that's not why people bash me. They bash me because I'm not wearing a fucking stupid hat. And it shouldn't matter. The game mechanics should matter. You would think me pointing that out, that I don't give two flying fucks about hats, and I only want weapons, should make some semblance of rationale that I care about the mechanics themselves, not about being a fucking Barbie doll. But that just eludes the TF2 gamer. Why? And I refuse to go from free to play to pay to play because I already paid for the fucking game, and they deleted my account. They didn't have any reason to. Even if they thought they had a reason, it's not good enough. There is never a good enough reason. Only reason you could ever conceivably lock my account or something is if I'm doing something illegal, which you should have to prove. You do not have the right to do something to me under the pretense that I did something. You have to prove in the court of law that I did something. And even then, that would not defend locking my account. You'd take me to fucking court about that. That's how it works in the real world, and that's how it should work online, where I am giving you money to play games online, and there are transactions going on online, and money is transferring from hand to hand. You would think the law would apply, not your bullshit about how you feel. I'm basically Trayvon Martin. That's what it comes down to. I'm Trayvon Martin of fucking Valve. So, what I'm getting at here is that all Valve has conditioned people to care about is the fucking Barbie doll hats. They don't care about the mechanics. They don't care about team synergy. They don't even care about the character of the people they're playing with. They don't care if they're playing with a fucking 5-year-old that's just yelling random words into his mic. They don't care if they're playing with a sociopath who is just insulting people constantly. They don't care if they're playing with somebody that's spraying child pornography on the walls. They don't care. All they care about is the fact that someone else has a better hat than they do. And they want that hat, and they'll glorify that hat and be like, "Ooh, I'll trade you this and that for that hat." And it's a very capitalistic, fascist mindset. And it was by design. It had to be by design, because there is no fucking way that they got this far not considering those possibilities. There is no way that they sat around thinking up Team Fortress 2 and then moved on from just the initial game to the unlocks and things and didn't think about all this implications. The implications it would have on the society structure of the game itself. How these people would react to the game. There is no way they did not know this was going to affect the human psyche negatively. They have had to know, but they either didn't care or it was intentional. And either way, that shows them to be horrible people. And that is the gaming institution as a whole. I'm not saying every single game has a fascist undertone, but it's clear to me that there are many that do, and the developers themselves are intentionally trying to make it that way. Many developers, whether it be Blizzard or Valve or Bungie or Nintendo or whatever, have a very distinct cause. They have a very distinct ambition to teach you to accept fascism. And you can disagree with me. You can say, "Oh, you're just talking out your ass," or whatever. You're going to fucking do it anyway. But ask yourself why you are so willing to accept this bullshit when 5 years ago you wouldn't have. 5 years ago you would have never accepted all this crap where you pay for a game and somehow it can combust into flames in your hands and you not be able to play it anymore, and the companies just rub their nipples and laugh at you because they got your money and fucked you over. You would have never put up with that 5 years ago, but now all of a sudden you do. Why? Because you spent 5 years being indoctrinated by these assholes to accept that. That is my belief, and that is what all evidence suggests, and it's the only explanation I can think of for why people are so vehemently docile and submissive to this evil. So, I guess that's